Hi, this is Sandy. I'd like to welcome you back to 10 Habits of Highly Miserable Christians. So I'm glad you're sticking with me. I'm glad you joined me today. So let's continue to hone your misery skills. Today we're going to talk about how to be a negative person. Okay, remember this when you were a kid? The sky is falling, right? So this is something you have to remember all the time. That things are getting worse. Having a negative attitude is the best way to be miserable. If we're realistic, we have to have a negative attitude because the world is falling apart, right? Think about how the world is getting worse and worse all the time. Dwell on that fact that we live in an evil world, that things are getting worse by the day, and that there's absolutely nothing that we can do about it. Think of how sinful the world has gotten. Remember the good old days when things were much better? I know I was born back in the 60s. When I was born, things were a whole lot better. We had assassinations, we had Vietnam, we had riots, we had Watergate, we had all that kind of stuff, but things were a whole lot better than they are today, right? A real negative person is a person who believes that the past was better than it was, the present is worse than it is, and the future is going to be worse than it is now. So remember that, dwell on that saying, and work yourself up into a real panic attack because you know the world is just going to get worse. So dwell on how bad it's going to get, okay? And that's the way to be a real negative, miserable person. Remember, you can't do anything about what's going on in the world today. You are not in control of it whatsoever. So you're dedicated to being negative, so you really don't want to do anything about the state of the world anyway, right? Because if you're going to be miserable, you have to have something to be miserable about. So remember this, watch lots of football. Instead of going to church, watch football because you don't want to become involved in anything that could change something. So dwell on how bad your pastor is, how bad he treats you, and when he doesn't preach what you want to hear, maybe he preaches something that would help you overcome your negative attitude so you wouldn't be so miserable. But you don't want to go to church and hear that because it might help you and it might help do something that could change the world. Keep yourself in a worldly mindset. Remember all those non-Christian people that you are around that are so negative and they don't like this and they don't like that and they don't think anything can change. Well, you want to hang around those people because if you want to be negative, you want to hang around people who are negative. Don't believe the Lord is in control and he knows all about it. So this scripture, we know all things work for the good of those who love God and those who are called according to his purpose. Well, he just really said that. He didn't really mean it. It doesn't mean that he's working things out for your good because he loves you, because he wants you to be negative. He wants you to be miserable. That's the way Jesus is, right? So here's an exercise for you. Write down 10 situations that make you anxious, depressed, and distracted, especially the distracted ones. We have so many distractions that we can help dwell on all the negative in the world and dwell on those for at least 15 minutes each day. So add 15 minutes more of distraction to your life so you can be more negative. Write down 10 things you hate about your pastor and other church leaders and dwell on them also. So here's a scripture for you. Whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Well, we don't want to do that. So what we want to do is write down 10 shows that have absolutely no virtue to them. Think about it long and hard and write them down. Then watch them. Watch every negative show. Listen to every negative radio program that's on that list all day long. This is an effective strategy to being negative and being a very miserable Christian. So these things will help you refine your skills in misery and being negative. Okay, I'm done with my rant. I don't believe that Jesus wants you to be miserable. I believe he wants you to have joy. He wants you to be happy. So to help you out, we have a call and where we get praise reports from people that thinks the Lord is doing really good things for them, and to pray for people who are having problems because we do have problems in our life, okay? And Jesus wants to hear from us. So I have those every Wednesday evening, and they're at 6 p.m. Pacific time, or on Thursday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time. And here's the number. Make sure you write this down. It's 1-712-432-3066, and the code to get into it is 758569. Okay, write those down. Remember to be on those calls if you want to get over your negative attitude, or if you want to help somebody else get over their negative attitude. So join me tomorrow where we'll continue with another negative skill so you can help become more miserable. And that's going to be on picking fights. So we'll see you tomorrow.